Welcome to Talk of the Tavern. I'm Travis Sivart, and I'm going to tell you about my steampunk journey. Be right back.
Talk the Tavern. Here you're always welcome.
My steampunk journey began, in various places along my life. I've always enjoyed certain fashions that would be Victorian, whether it's vests or pocket watches, etc. I've always enjoyed shows about the Old West, movies about the Old West, about the Victorian era. But I guess my steampunk journey would officially begin, might be 2008 or 2009. I went to a Renaissance fair. On the last day of the season. The Renaissance Fair season, that is. Oh, by the way, I've also always liked gadgets and gizmos and repurposing things, etc. So I go to this Renaissance Fair. Now, the last day of a Ren Fair is quite often the day of wrong. Basically, you wear outfits that don't fit into the Renaissance or medieval era. Or you do some blended costume. That's not quite right. So I've seen stormtroopers in kilts. I've seen Mario from Mario Brothers, etc. A couple of us decided to go dress steampunk. Now, I had never dressed steampunk, but I had beige pants in my closet, a brown vest, a white collarless shirt with the preacher collar, or mandarin collar, whatever you want to call it, a big wide brim brown hat. It actually looks like a preacher hat. And there I went to the Ren Fair. I very much looked like a 1880s Old West preacher. No facial hair. Looked so young. And that was the first time. After that, I started to look into it a little more. I went to Steampunk World's Fair the next year and enjoyed that. Found about Steampunk Symposium. Started reading Gail Carriger, reread Jules Verne and H.G. Wells. Rewatched League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Wild Wild West with Will Smith. Basically, started exploring what steampunk is. Began submitting steampunk-esque short stories to anthologies. Became known rather as an authority pretty quickly. I guess I just gravitated to it very naturally and organically. Well, then somebody asked me to come on their radio show and talk about steampunk just for 5 minutes. Well, after that 5 minutes, the guy who ran the station came to me and said, "Hey, how would you like your own steampunk radio show?" And that's how Sounds of Steam was born. A month later, I'm on White Party Radio, different station from the first one. And for a year and a half, Sounds of Steam went strong before I turned it back into Talk of the Tavern, which is what it came out of originally. But by that time, I had published Etheric Elements, my first steampunk anthology, Steampunk for Simpletons, kind of a for dummies about steampunk. And since then, I've published a half dozen steampunk books. Keep your eye out for the series that'll be coming out soon. Well, with Sounds of Steam, I started going to steampunk conventions as press. Met a lot of the authors and makers and crafters and vendors. Some people ask me, why steampunk? Besides those earlier influences I mentioned, it was largely about the community. Now, the community has changed a bit in the past 6-7 years. As anything will do when it gets more mainstream. You get more people, and then you start to build your cliques and everything. It's still a very inclusive community, though. It's very welcoming, warm, sharing. You have your top dogs, you have your leaders and trends. You have people resistant to new people because there's already so many new people. But all in all, steampunk is a wonderful, wonderful world within a world. I guess that's all my steampunk journey. Just to let you know how I got here to this point. Let me know about your steampunk journey down below in the comments. Subscribe for more steampunk stuff. And check out some other videos. Talk to you soon.